Okay, folks, it's about 11 o'clock, so I think we'll get started. And as people arrive, they can arrive. I'm just going to hand it straight over to Brett from Career Services and let her get started with this so that we have lots of time for discussion and talking. Yeah, Brett.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, hey, thank you for coming. Thanks for those that are online and then those that are in person. We love to see people in seats. That's awesome. So my name is Brett Kristoff, and I work as a professional skills coordinator for the Office of Career Services here at USask. And I lead a project called Future Skills Innovation Project here at USask. And that's a group of Canadian universities, so not just USask, but other universities that are really focused on building transferable skills into university learning. And that's because that's the skills you need no matter what career path you choose. And if your career path changes, these transferable skills will really help you succeed no matter what. So we'll talk a little bit about what I mean by those skills. Because we're going to be talking about identifying and developing your research skills for this summer research experience. So thanks for having me. As usual, oopsies, sorry. Yeah, there we go. Starting always with our land acknowledgement. This is an important practice that is important for grounding ourselves and recognizing who we are and where we come from and the privileges and responsibilities we have with with where we find ourselves today here on beautiful Treaty 6, the traditional homeland of the Métis, as well as other traditional gathering place for lots of Indigenous communities historically. And when we're thinking about research, when we're thinking about reflecting on our skills and our goals and the research we're contributing to, it's important to think about the responsibility we have towards reconciling the past and co-creating a future where all of us can thrive, including the environment, including the animals, and including ourselves and our communities. So I encourage you to think about your place, your piece of this puzzle, and your responsibilities and how you see this connecting to your area of research. I'm really close to this this owl here.
You're good.
Okay, good. So as I said before, I come from Career Services. So if you haven't met us, please come and meet us. We're really nice, and we want to help you in your career journey. We also help current students and alumni. So even after you graduate, you can still use our services. We just helped someone who graduated in 2012 and was going through a career change. So about 10, almost 14, 15 years ago, and was going through a career change and came back and used our resources to help think through her next part of her career. So you can scan to learn more, go to our website where we post different jobs, different opportunities, different training. We have all sorts of guides and resources to help you with your resume writing, your mock interviews, all these things. We have coaches you can meet with. And what we think about, or how we think about career is through that kind of wheel. So there's lots of contributing factors to your career path or your career wheel. And they'll likely change, right? As you change, as you learn about yourself, about the world, about your strengths, your skills, what you're interested in. And so we want to start thinking about career as this kind of, not a static thing, but something that's living, that's moving, that we're already doing even in our early years of our undergraduate degree. We're starting to develop our career path. And so it makes it a little less scary because we can think about it in a dynamic way, not just like, okay, I'm committing to this forever, right? That's usually not the majority of people don't experience careers like that, right? It's usually quite dynamic and evolves with you, which for me is important. Yeah, so come and check us out at some point, and I'll have some other resources at the end here for you. So there should be hopefully a poll coming up here. Let's see, let's reset. Okay, so if you scan that QR code, if you can, or you can just pop in the chat if you're online. You don't need to sign in. I think you can just sign in as a guest. But the question at the top that is covered up by the panel there is, let's see if I can move this.
You might just have to escape out of the full screen.
Okay.
To the far top.
Nope, not that. Sorry, everyone. Okay, what skills are needed for research? Let's just go with that. So what skills are needed for research? You can probably see it on the app. And if you don't have a phone or can't connect, you can also just say them out loud. Organization, yeah. So that's some time management, some self-management. Curiosity, yeah, right? Being really curious, thinking critically, thinking creatively. Any in the chat? Just those two skills?
Time management and creative thinking.
Yeah, okay, yeah, creative thinking, time management again, problem solving, yeah. Perseverance, yeah. Right? A lot of failure in research. Things don't happen the way we plan them in research, right? Lots of you have a theory, a hypothesis, and then you get proved wrong, right? And you got to get back on there and think through it again. Attention to detail, yeah.
Ability to adapt and communication.
Yeah, adaptability and communication are huge. We'll talk about both of those. Yeah, you guys are right on the money here. Give you another second. These are skills you have, I'd like to point out. Right? These are skills you have. And just like Jordan and I, right, we're always kind of working on them. These are the skills that Jordan and I have as well in the work that we do. Some days we're better at it. Some days, are a bit more of a struggle. I'm very tired today, so maybe my attention to detail might be a little bit off compared to other days, right? But essentially we have these skills and we should always be working to develop these skills. These are the transferable skills I was talking about. So whether you're a teacher, a doctor, a researcher, a coordinator, these are the skills that you'll need to help you kind of navigate your journey ahead. Motivation, yeah. Awesome.
Caitlin says stubbornness can help.
Yeah, that's that perseverance, right? Not being easily dissuaded or easily, being, that persistence, that grit, that stubbornness, to keep doing it, right? That'll get you far in life and it'll get you far in research. But also knowing too when to kind of adapt, right? When to change course, when to consult with other people, right? And that comes with time, right? Awesome, thank you. Let's see if I can advance to the next one. So this is I know you can't see any of the details here, but this is a chart of kind of researcher skills and competencies. Let's see, can I? Still can't see the top, but that's fine. So we're kind of in, if I can sneak around, around this around, I know, sorry. So if you see here at the top, it says supervisor instigated, right? So this is kind of where we are in these categories, right? Discipline leading, that's like our, president of research, right? That's like Baljit Singh, that's like Dr. Stephen Ryan, who's leading quantum computing here at USask, right? These are people who are leading in their research area. So we don't need to be here yet. This is maybe the goal, right? If we're really committed to being a researcher, but we're probably somewhere here. But essentially it's the same skills. It's just developing that competency and developing more depth to those skills as we learn and grow. So you can learn more about that, but we're going to we're going to ask you some questions right away. So if you are curious in looking at that in more detail, you can scan that QR code. But we have some kind of categories here that will help you kind of think through what it is you should be focusing on this summer in your experience. So these are 6 categories or domains of the undergraduate research experience that you're participating in. So we're just starting it with research foundations and inquiry skills. We're thinking about information and data literacy. Those are really important skills for identifying accuracy and management of information. Communication and knowledge mobilization is another really big part of research. It's how you get funded. It's how you create impact. You get an article published, right? Collaboration, professionalism across the board, right? We just had a session earlier this week about working on a team. And I've yet to find a job where you're not working with other people in some capacity. Even if it's you're isolated working on your research in the Antarctic, you're doing it alongside other folks and for the general population of society, right? So you're always in relation. We're always in relation to our research and to each other when we do this. Ethics and integrity, huge part of research, right? Doing our research ethically and with respect and responsibility. That's really, really important. I probably should have moved that one to the top to signal the importance of it. All of these are valuable, but that one's a big one. And then, of course, methods and methodologies, so different approaches to doing research, which also includes interpretation and analysis of the research as well. So we're going to do a little self-assessment. So for those of you that are online, you have a pen and paper nearby. For those of you that are in person, I can pass out some sticky notes and some pens and paper there. But we're just going to read through each of these kind of categories. And there's a little spectrum there of emerging to advanced. And just kind of jot down for each of those statements where you feel your competency is, right? So yeah, could we pass those out? Thank you. And again, this is not, you don't need, I'm not going to ask to see this. This is not our test. I'm not going to ask you to share your results. This is private information for you to self-assess where you're at in your research journey. So if you lie, you're only lying to yourself. So just be honest about where you're at. So again, kind of just ranking where you are. Are you emerging, developing, proficient, advanced for each of these statements? I can identify meaningful and relevant research topics. I can develop clear, focused research questions. I can understand how research contributes to my discipline or field. I recognize my responsibility to conduct research ethically and with integrity. And I demonstrate curiosity and creative, independent thinking in my research. Okay, I'll go to the next area. And yeah, I see you. I think we'll share these slides. So yeah, you don't, if you're feeling rushed through it and you want to take more time to really understand each of these categories, don't worry, we'll share these and you can take your time there. But just to kind of get a sense of where we're at, because we're going to do some goal setting at the end here. So just kind of getting a sense of where you feel you are on that spectrum of competency. And I'm the type of person who just is never satisfied. And so that advanced category is really hard for me to see. Maybe I'm too hard on myself, but I think that's a good thing, right? Is because I know that I'm a human and I know some days are better than others. I'm confident in my ability, but I know there's always going to be room for improvement.
Well, I don't think advanced is necessarily the end of the spectrum either, right? Advanced suggests that you are you have a you're more than proficient at it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you stop learning.
Yeah, or you are
that's the end for you.
Yeah, or you're qualified to teach on the subject matter or something, right?
You are, but you still, you know, you're still, there's someone more advanced.
Yeah, or something, with like, considering like AI and the kind of recent boom, right? That's something that we've all kind of had to, adapt to, right? So even if we were really advanced in computer science, presents itself a different learning curve, right? New developments in the field. Okay, the next category is information and data literacy. So the same thing, reading each one of those statements and kind of seeing where you're at on that spectrum. Should I just be quiet and not read them out loud? Is that better? Okay. I'll read them after.
If you want clarification on any of those.
I think that's why that's talking them through out. Yeah. Again, we're all kind of coming from different disciplines, right? So it's hard for us to know what it is you're doing. So if there is something that doesn't make sense here, just let us know and we can kind of help figure it out for your particular area, right? An art history researcher is going to be a lot different than a bio researcher, right? The competencies and the skills are going to be the same, but it's going to look a little different. So this is all really about identifying credible sources, being able to analyze those and summarize those as well. Being able to evaluate these sources for credibility, right? That's that analysis piece. Being able to organize and manage information or data. Again, these are the skills that we had up at the very beginning too. That's pretty cool to see. Identifying patterns, insights, and or gaps or limitations in your own research, but also in scholarly work, right? And that's actually how research progresses, right? By identifying a gap or a limitation, and then we, do another research study, and then there's another gap, so we do another one. So that's a really important part. And then, of course, that accurate and ethical use of different information. So using proper citation styles and accrediting work when it's needed, avoiding misuse or plagiarism, overusing AI as well. We probably should have pulled that one out specifically. Okay, so the next category is communication and knowledge mobilization. This is all about writing research clearly in writing, but also being able to communicate it in presentations or in just discussions, so different settings.
This is really about the impact of your research and being able to communicate your research in a way that has a broad impact on your community, globally. Because if you do the best research in the world, but only you and the other people in your lab understand what it is and what the impact is, it was useless.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No.
But it doesn't have any impact then. So it needs to have broad impact. And knowledge mobilization is all about making sure that your research is impacting the community and doing something forward. So it's that sort of that responsibility to your community, responsibility to your
to your field, but then to the larger society, right? And that importance of being able to communicate to different audiences and for different folks, right? So beyond just academic context, right? So you need to be able to communicate to your professors and your lab team, but can you also communicate that research to your grandma or a grade 6 classroom, right? Can you adapt and make it make sense for the audience? Because again, when you're applying for grants, when you're applying for funding, when you're trying to show, hey, this is really important, we're on the brink of a major breakthrough, or this is really critical for, ecological impact or green energy or anything. And it can be a really small piece of it, which usually research is. But being able to show that connection is how you get buy-in, how you get more funding, how you get, more research opportunities and bigger impact. This is also really important for your SHURE experience this summer, because hopefully some of you will be doing either the storytelling competition or the symposium where you'll be presenting and talking about what you did this summer. And there are some prizes. So being able to do that effectively and captivate the audience and read the room to adapt, right? Also working on that elevator pitch, being really quick, but we'll talk about that later. Okay, next category. Collaboration and professionalism. So again, did I just copy over? Oh, I think I was editing. Uh-oh. Hold on a second. Oh, that's not my computer. Shoot. These are just the same statements as the communication one, but they shouldn't be. Just
Yeah.
I have a Word document that has them all listed, so. Sorry, just give me a second. Here, why don't we go to the next one? Ethics and integrity. So again, reading those, seeing where you're at.
There's a really good research responsible conduct workshop coming up, I think next week, that I would highly recommend for everybody, because it just makes you think about ethics and integrity, not just as something that you need to be doing, but also how proper ethics and integrity increase the reliability of your study, increase the rigor of your study, and yeah, it actually improves the research in a really big way. So, yeah.
I have the missing pieces, so we'll go back to those in just a second. But yeah, as you're saying, in any role, especially in research, but also in any workplace, right? Having integrity and being an ethical teammate, employee, are really, really important. It's a part of your reputation, right? And especially in academia and research, if there's doubts around ethics and integrity, that's a really good way to not have a job.
Despite what political leadership might tell you in the opposite
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah, I guess maybe unless you're a politician. No, just kidding. There's my bias there. Okay, well, we go back to collaboration and professionalism. Sorry, I think I just was copying the wrong thing over from my document. So again, this is one of those areas that, yeah, it will look specific in research, but even if it's in your part-time job, at Starbucks or at, any other type of work, right? This is going to be important. So or in your studies, right? Being a contributor in group work or teamwork or research, meeting deadlines and managing your time, professional communication with peers, instructors, and supervisors, respond constructively to feedback. We just did a constructive dialogue workshop the other day about how feedback is actually a gift for growth and improvement. Sometimes it can sting, but ultimately it's really good information. That's the peer review process, right? And being accountable and reliable in your work. I love that you guys are really making notes and being thoughtful. That just is awesome. And we're going quick, so we'll share these so you can kind of dig deeper into each of them. Okay, I think this is our last category there. So methods and methodology. So understanding different research methods used in your field, selecting appropriate methods for your research questions, applying methods correctly with minimal guidance, can explain and justify methodological choices.
Super.
Yeah. Right? Why are you doing a survey? Why are you doing this? What's the impact and what are the limitations, which is the last one, right? Recognizing the strengths, the good stuff, but also the limitations. What gaps are there? Again, it's good to identify gaps because that shows there's more research to be done and more reason to fund you and give you money to do that research.
But I think this is about identifying the fact that there are lots of different ways to do research. There are many different methods to getting an answer to a question. And, you know, there are common ones for each field of study, for each discipline. But at this university especially, we really talk a lot about the benefits of multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary research. And looking at things from different worldviews and looking at things from different perspectives is something that will only enhance your research. So being able to select methodologies, but then also consider other methodologies, consider other ways of knowing, other worldviews in how you're doing that is always a good thing.
And again, it helps you make that impact at that connection, right? Taking that multi or transdisciplinary approach, right? So when you're working in computer science, right? I bring this up because I met with a computer scientist and I asked him, what do you think the most important skill is if you're a computer scientist? Do you know what he said? It's gonna blow your mind. It blew my mind. Empathy.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, tell me more. And he's an app developer and he contributes to app development for like the Saskatchewan Health Authority and like so real big problems that his specific knowledge as a computer scientist contributes to efficiency and accuracy and management in the healthcare region. And he said, if we aren't responsive, if we aren't anticipating the needs and being able to make it make sense to the user of our product and having empathy to understand what their problems are, we can't solve those problems for them with our technology. And so you need to be kind of connected to the community that you're serving and having that empathy to be able to say, okay, design, and this is a problem. User experience. Yeah. So that just kind of blew my mind because I was not thinking that. I was like, data, numbers, math, right? But he's like, no. And those are the tools, right? Those are the tools of doing that.
Clicking.
Yeah. Really good words per minute. Yeah. No, and so right, like it just kind of opened my mind to thinking about how there is this kind of trans or multidisciplinary connection to the work we do, and if we see it through a really limited lens, then we're not doing, you know, good, impactful work. Right, we need to see the interconnections between, you know, even my area and kind of more humanities based, like women and gender studies. How does that influence policy and healthcare and education? Right, it's not just about it's about all of these things and how that shows up in different places.
Yeah, there's a great research study done here through toxicology. Water health research project that was happening up in Cumberland House, and it was a community-based project, so they were connected with the Cumberland House community up there and working with them. And so they were taking what's called a two-eyed seeing approach, which is when you use both Western methodologies and Indigenous methodologies for sort of looking at the same problem. And what they were finding as they were doing this was that they could weave back and forth between Western methodologies and Indigenous methodologies in order to check reliability on sources between the two and that kind of thing. So for example, they'd be looking at a whole bunch of data that had been collected over the years about this body of water, and they were finding that, during these years, the fish declined in a massive way. And the elders in the community said, well,
it's normal.
Yes, but not during this year.
Yeah.
During this year and this year, that actually went way up.
Yeah.
And they went, well, that's not what our data says. And they goes, I don't care. I was fishing. And I say, and the fish went way up. And they went, okay, well, that's super interesting. And they totally were finding new things by sharing those things back and forth. And so again, it's just a really great example of how looking at things from those different worldviews and from those different perspectives and methodologies, you know, can really enhance the rigor of your research.
Yeah, and rather than seeing it as a hierarchy, like, oh, this Western approach, this scientific approach is better, seeing them together, right? Seeing how there's gaps in different approaches. And when we actually bridge those gaps, we have better outcomes, better research, better quality of what we're doing. Cool. So hopefully now you have a sense of kind of where you're at. We're going to do some goal setting, kind of identifying different areas. But you'll have an opportunity in the SHURE Canvas course to find these fusion modules that will help you develop these skills that are connected to each of these 6 domains. So these really boil down to collaboration skills, communication skills, adaptability, problem solving, digital and AI literacy, or digital literacy as a part of, or AI as a part of digital literacy. Constructive dialogue, right? So debating in a healthy, productive way, taking and receiving feedback and integrating that into your research, right? It's constructive dialogue. Creativity. And then what those really boil down to simplify it a little bit, are our metacognition and our self-management skills. So our ability to think about our own thinking, so self-reflection, and being able to manage yourself, managing your emotions, managing your time, creating balance so that you're not burning out, taking care of your well-being needs, right? Being ethical, being adaptable, these things. So you'll have an opportunity to do some of these modules if you choose throughout your SHURE experience. They count towards your SHURE completion hours. And again, these are really going to help you in your research, but beyond as well. So if you decide that research is not for you, that's okay. But you have these skills that are going to be adaptable and used in different contexts. So that's what's really valuable about this.
Yeah, and have a look when you're looking at the workshops that we've got designed for the summer and into the fall as well. They don't explicitly show what category they fall into. Maybe they should color code them or something. But they do fall into those categories. And so having done your little self-assessments here today, you can sort of think, okay, so you know, collaboration, professionalism, that's something I'd really like to build some skills on. Look for the workshops that you think sort of fit into that category. You're very intelligent people, you'll be able to figure that out, I'm sure, to look at the workshop and go, oh yeah, this one is helping me develop these skills or these skills. But feel free to sort of, you know, pick and choose the workshops that sort of build the skills that you personally are looking to build, or you feel like you have not a deficiency in
capacity to grow.
Capacity to grow, yeah.
Yeah. So when you see these, I think, are you just kind of announcing them weekly, or are they all in the schedule?
They're all available online. It's a growing list. We still have people signing up to do more workshops over the summer. So I think May is pretty full at the moment. June is a little less full, but still has lots going on. July, even less, because you'll be well into your research at that point and probably have a little less time. But yeah, there's still people signing up to develop workshops and stuff yet this summer. So have a look at all of them, and you can sort of pick and choose and start to fill your calendar. And then we're just announcing them sort of weekly, what's coming up that week, so that you know exactly what's happening this week.
Yeah, and if you don't follow Undergrad Research on Instagram, is it Instagram you guys are on?
Instagram,
LinkedIn, all of those platforms. That's a good way to stay connected so you know what's happening that week. You're probably already on those platforms anyway, so it's a good place to kind of remind yourself, oh, I should go to this workshop. So we're going to move into reflection. So I wanted to and we've been doing a lot of reflection already. So I just want to highlight to you what reflection is, and that it's metacognition. It's a ability to think about our own thinking. And it's really the key for this metacognition cycle, which is really closely connected to the research cycle. So, you know, assessing the task or assessing the research, right? Evaluating strengths, weaknesses, strategy, finding information, planning an approach or strategy or a research question, trying it, applying it, thinking about it. Did it work? what didn't work, what went well.
Adjusting the research questions again.
And that cycle keeps going, right? So this is a process that we're always engaged in. And we're always kind of doing it in different ways, right? But as soon as we become more aware of it, that's when we really can move our learning into like hyperspeed, right? What's the saying that I always like to bring up? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, right? So we can break that up. We can break up that insanity by being reflective, thoughtful participants, and being aware of our own metacognition, our own thinking. It helps us, that self-awareness and that critical thinking, that reflection capacity, helps us become critical and creative problem solvers and thinkers. So again, it's going to help you in your research, but in your studies, in your job, in your personal life. Okay, so now we are moving into some goal setting. And again, this is just for you, but I'd love to hear some of your thoughts and some of your reflections. So there's a couple different questions here for you to think about. What skills or skill category are you most confident in? So I can go back to that visual there so you can see that and kind of, identify which area, unless you've got your wonderful notes that are clear. And so what skills or skill domain? So what are you confident in? That's a good place to start. It's good to recognize our strengths and where we're at. And it's also good to be aware of gaps and or areas that we want to focus. So that's that second question. What skill or skill domain do you want to focus on developing this summer? So I'll go back. Oh, I guess I can go here. So these are the skill domains that we were talking about. So what's your strongest one? Which one do you want to work on? So I'll give you a couple seconds to kind of think about that. And if anybody wants to share, we love sharing.
Yeah, and it's good information for us just in terms of where folks are in terms of what they want workshops about.
Yeah.
Over during their research time in undergraduate. Like what are the skills that you feel you're missing? Like
And there's no workshop to do.
and there's no workshop to do, right? Like where are the gaps?
Yeah. Help us, help you.
Yeah, send us emails and just say, hey, I'd love to see something on this. Something I'm being asked to do in my summer research, and I have no clue how to do it.
Yeah.
Or I'm being asked to do this. Is there a tool that could help me, Zotero or something like that? Are there different research tools out there that could help me with that?
Yeah.
Or we're doing this methodology. Is there another one we could use to sort of look at that again?
We'll also do some kind of presentation and public speaking workshops kind of later, closer to the end of the summer, because I know those are always scary things.
Yeah, I did a quick little introduction to SHURE to the CLS Inspire program this week, which is undergraduates connected to research projects that are happening at the CLS. So it's another program, one of the many programs for undergraduate students at the University of Saskatchewan. Anyway, went to present on that. Losing my train of thought. What were we talking about?
Communication, presentation.
And the coordinator of that said, I said, I hope to see you all at the SHURE Symposium at the end of August to present your research in a poster this summer. And Lenore, who's the coordinator, said, yeah, she said, they'll all be there, no problem. We'll get everybody there. And she said, they actually do a little mock run through to get feedback. And I thought that's a great idea.
Wow.
That's something we should consider for sure at some point, is to, if students wanted to, they could come with their posters and just do a little mock. Like, I'm going to present my poster to this many people and not hundreds of people, just to get a little bit of feedback and that kind of thing. So
that's awesome, Jordan.
We try and do
because
in July or something, or early August. Just if you've got your poster, sort of a draft of it, and you want to give it a go, try some presentation skills out.
Kind of a lower stakes way of running.
Yeah, right? Like it's no,
We do at our office, we do what's called mock interviews. It's the same idea, right? Where before an interview, you go and you do a practice run with one of our coaches.
Yeah.
So I think that's something we could definitely do. Yeah, and just do it really. again, the more comfortable, the more times we do something, the more comfortable we are with it, right? So, you know, that prep work is really, really helpful. Okay, a couple more reflection or goals and reflections. And then I guess maybe I should also go forward here. So SMART goals. Have you heard of SMART goals? Yeah. Okay, cool. And they're actually a lot harder. And I know you're like, yeah, of course, they're smart, they're specific. They're probably not specific enough.
Hard.
SMART goals are really hard. That measurable quantity, right? How am I going to measure that I'm improving my skills and I'm improving my ethics capacity or my knowledge mobilization, right? It's really hard to kind of map that in a concrete, tangible way.
It's hard to measure, it's probably not specific enough.
Yeah, there we go. So if it's hard to measure, it's probably not specific enough. Okay. Love that. That time-bound piece as well, right? That actually might work for you or in your favor this summer because you are in a time-bound, you have only till the end of August to do your research, right? But like, how can you break that down, right? So by the end of June, I want to have done 4 workshops and have completed, you know, these tasks in my research lab. I don't know how your research is set up this summer. So, you know, maybe there are some self-guided, you know, components to your work. So thinking ahead, managing your time, giving yourself, you know, okay, deadlines by the end of May, I want to have, you know, this part done. Or I want to have attended this many workshops, right? Trying to get as specific as you can, giving yourself deadlines. I'm the type of person, I give myself deadlines that are made up because it just helps me get stuff done, right? That's something I recognize really works for me.
If there's particular skills you're looking to develop, if I want to publish something by the end of the summer, I want to improve my communication skills or those research mobilization skills. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to do this workshop. I'm going to, you know, compete in the storytelling competition. I'm going to create a, you know, a reel about my research and
attend if there's like a public talk or a public, you know, presentation or something like that, that's kind of connected. You know, just kind of gaining that knowledge and that experience to help you achieve your goals. I'll go back because we're still not done. So now I want you to think about so we talked about your skills, your strengths, some of the gaps, some of the things you're going to work on. I also want you thinking about, we've talked a lot about this, how this connects to your academic and career context, right? So how is your learning experience this summer helping you get further along in your career goals and your academic context, right? How is it connecting to your school that will start in the fall if you're not already taking classes this summer? You can also think about that, like, how is my research, again, contributing to larger bodies of research? That'll be really important for the symposium and the storytelling competition. Even though you're undergraduates, you know, you feel like, oh, I don't have an impact, right? It's really important to tell that story about why you're interested in this topic and what the value is for your career, for your academics, but for the society at large, right? And if you forget anything else, what are your goals for this summer, right? What is it your research goal or focus is, right? You want to get really good at this skill, or you want to publish a paper in the Undergraduate Research Journal.
Just trying to build up your research profile because you're planning on applying for grad studies at some point, or you're just looking for another opportunity next year and want to apply for a USRA again next year. And so just trying to build up your research profile a bit so that you're more competitive for those types of things or whatever.
Yeah. And that might be also, I haven't found a date yet, but I'll do a workshop on like networking and leveraging LinkedIn. So that could be an easy goal for you guys, right? Getting an online presence on LinkedIn to be connected with other researchers and find other opportunities, right?
And I know our SHURE online community portal there's not a lot of activity in there yet. It's new. I'm really hoping it sort of grows to be a bit more of that. Once the fall hits and faculty are starting to think about next year's research projects already, they're going to start sending me
jobs. They're gonna start sending me, I'm looking for this many research students for next summer. Here's the thing. They're gonna start sending me notes to say, what other research opportunities can I find and connect with undergraduate students for? And all of those things are gonna start getting posted there. And so like in the fall, we do a big networking, speed networking event. Where a whole bunch of faculty who are looking for undergraduates come together, and undergraduates all come together, and we put you at a table with a researcher who's looking for undergraduates for 5 minutes, and they tell you about their research, and you tell them a little bit about you, and you exchange some information if that seems like a good fit, and then we move to the next table. And so that you just sort of get an opportunity to meet a whole bunch of researchers who are actively looking for undergraduates. And all that kind of stuff can then continue, those conversations can continue on those kind of things in that online community. So I encourage you all to jump on that discussion forum in there and just introduce yourself and start to build your profiles a bit in that space. Because come fall, when faculty are starting to think about next year already, that's where I'm gonna send them. I'm gonna say, go to this community. There are a whole bunch of undergraduates in there who are super keen, and they have been coming to workshops, and they are trained and they are ready. So go there to find undergraduates, and that's where I'm gonna be sending them. So get in there and be active in there, because that's where they're gonna find you.
And part of like that career wheel, right? Like even if after the summer you realize, okay, this research area, not for me, or maybe research in general, not for me, right? That's really good learning. And the relationships you have with your supervisor, with your lab, your team that you're working with, those are going to be really helpful for the next opportunity. So learning about yourself, for better or for worse, right? You might learn that you have a real aversion to data management or something like that, right? That's okay. That's good information.
Just because research isn't for you doesn't mean that those relationships that you've built won't help you with your career, right? Because all those researchers are super connected to industry in their fields, right? So you're still in that program, you're still looking to get that degree, and you'll be looking for work. And the fact that you were able to work with a supervisor or a team of graduate students or whatever, those are all people who are connected. So those are all good communication skills and connections we made.
Yeah, and we always need references, right? We always need someone to vouch for us as a good worker, as an ethical worker, right? And so we want to be leading, with our best versions of ourselves, with transparency, with honesty, with integrity. And those are the things, like, I didn't realize how important those would end up being when I was an undergraduate student. Luckily, I was respectful and engaged by default, right? But, after I graduated and was applying for graduate school, graduate studies, I was like, oh, thank goodness I have a few professors that I can, ask to write a letter of reference or letter of support for, because I'd be kind of hooped if I didn't have that, right? So again, starting to build our professional reputation as undergraduate students. And it's sometimes not always about who you know or what you know, but who you know, right? Being connected to different people and being somebody that others can trust. And I mean, the thing about researchers and professors is they were undergraduate students at one point too. And they were probably helped out by someone along the way. And they want to help out someone on their journey too, right?
Yeah. Research, unfortunately, the culture of research, not unfortunately, but just for some folks, unfortunately, it's very word of mouth.
Yeah.
And so I would say like 80% of the research opportunities that happen at this university happen by word of mouth.
Yeah.
They're not advertised anywhere. They are not put out there. They are not on a job board. So that's part of what we do, is we try and collect those and then share them more broadly so that more people can see those opportunities. But for those of us who might be a little bit more introverted and less extroverted, it is harder. It will be harder for you to find those opportunities and to engage in that. So hopefully we can help you build some skills that help you to be able to do that in a different way, because it really is true that it's not what you know, it's who you know in research. And being connected and networking and doing those kinds of things and putting yourself out there is
a big part of how you get forward.
Yeah. So if I'm looking for a student to hire, right, I'm gonna ask around, hey, do you know any students that are, good and responsible and on time and right? And Jordan's gonna have a list of folks he knows. Every other, colleague of mine will have a list of students that they know, and that's how we get connected, right? So that's that word of mouth working for us. It also works in the opposite. Right? So if you have a bad reputation on campus, word will get around too, right? So yeah. And that's also in the industry world as well, right? Like if people are hiring a student, you're hiring someone and you see that they worked at a different place and you know someone who worked in that place, you're going to do that little reference check, right? You're going to be like, hey, did you work with the student? How were they, or this person, right? So that's trust, right? Okay, some other things. Again, reflection, goal setting, journaling, other mindfulness activities like meditation have a purpose for helping us reflect and achieve our goals, but also help balance our well-being. So don't just look at that and be like, not for me. It could be for you. It could really help you stay grounded, stay not overwhelmed, right? Staying on track. So finding moments throughout the day to do a little journaling, a little reflection, meditation. It doesn't have to be sitting there. It can be a walking meditation. That's what I do, right? I walk, no headphones, try to be really present. And I feel so much more refreshed than 8 hours of sleep. Like it does something to your brain. There's a lot of research on meditation and the impacts of your brain. So,
and journaling doesn't have to be a big thing. I use journaling at the end of the week. I'll think about what goals I had at the for my whole summer or for whatever, a chunk of period of time for that week, think about those goals. And I'll just jot down in point form, what were the things that I did that moved me towards those goals? And what it does at the end of the week is it makes me feel okay about my week, right? It wasn't a lot, but there were little things. I took little steps that got me towards those goals. Because at the end of the week, we can be like, God, that was a busy week. I got nothing done.
You're like, but I did.
If it was busy, you got stuff done. You did. So just little jot notes, right? Just like I did this, that got me towards this, that got me towards this. And it makes you go, okay, great, I got those things done. Next week I get new goals.
And it helps you focus those goals for the next week, right? And like you said, sometimes the world is so busy and it feels like, you have those days where nothing's going right for you. And it's just, you're like, why am I even doing this? Like, this is hard, right? It can get pretty heavy. Taking moments to pause, to find, to center yourself, ground yourself, acknowledge what you've achieved, however small, that's going to help you get further. Seeking out other opportunities for, again, these workshops, these learning opportunities, but also, do something to fill your cup outside of your work, right? So doing something fun when you can, right? Because all of those things are going to allow you to be better at your job, right? And then inviting feedback and different perspectives is really key because we see things from our own lens. And that is not the only way to see things. And so asking for someone else's perspective can sometimes, especially if you're in a block or you're in a creative, slump or something like that, right? Or you don't know how to move forward. Finding someone you can trust, whether a friend or a peer or colleague. There's also whole units like career services and peer health and all of these folks who at the university want to help you. Invite them in and it'll definitely help you.
Doing those little check-ins with your team supervisor or your faculty supervisor, even at the end of the week or at the end of the day, just before you leave the lab for the day or whatever it is you're doing, just check in with them and just go, hey, I'm about to head out. Any feedback for me for today? Anything I can do better tomorrow? Those kind of things, just giving them that opportunity.
Dream student, holy moly.
Just giving them that quick little opportunity, just like, hey, I'm leaving, but just quick, anything. You want to mention today?
Any feedback, any goals for next week that I should, prepare for? Like,
they love that.
Oh, I love that.
They'll have something. They'll have one little thing, or they'll just say you did something great.
Yeah, great job.
It'll make you feel good on your way out the door.
And then you have a great weekend, right? Yeah. That's awesome. I love that approach. And if a student, I don't know if I've had a few student assistants working for me. Actually, I have. And anytime they've done that, and it doesn't have to be at the end of the week, right? It can be in the middle of the week. It can be at the top of the week, right? But, creating an opportunity to check in,
And especially if you're feeling a little bit like, I don't
Confused,
know if
yeah.
I'm doing well at this yet, you know? Am I doing a good job of this? Sometimes we don't know.
Yeah. And oftentimes if you are, your supervisor's not going to say anything. Right? So you might be like, they haven't given me any feedback. Like, is that good or bad? It's probably okay. Because
No news is probably good.
yeah, no news is good news, right? But showing that interest, showing that initiative for inviting feedback, that's like mind-blowing, amazing. And then you just got somebody who is also now invested in you improving yourself, right? That they're gonna want to see you succeed because you've shown interest in growing and learning, right? And that's it, folks. I'm here to answer questions. Career Services, we're here to help you. Come and visit us, like I said before. I have a couple other sessions throughout the summer. I'm still working on dates, but we'll be talking about LinkedIn. We're going to do some more reflection, talking more about presentation skills and how you can connect with your audience through storytelling. So yeah, thank you so much for joining. Sorry, online folks, it's hard to manage online, but I saw you were there. I see you're in the chat. If you have any questions, we've got about 4 minutes.